It is Sludge, actually. It's two different stories out of Sludge. Welcome, Darlene. Congressional conflicts of interest, which one story kind of feeds into the other. Really, there's my co-host. Yep. So, what we've got going on here with Sludge is at least 100 House members invested in fossil fuels. So we've got some conflicts of interest going on here. Okay, representatives among the top oil and gas investors in Congress, but more shares into pipeline companies as the House moved to pass the bipartisan infrastructure bill. Not good stuff. Okay, this was David Moore out of Sludge. Certainly give them a follow. They're out of the Brick House Collective, and they name names. First off, they talk about how dangerous the fossil fuel industry is and how the industry is basically, reported that they need to divest themselves, and how banks are coming out and saying that they're not going to continue to invest in fossil fuels until you actually look at the disclosures.
Right.
All right. So the investments are either owned by a member of Congress, their spouse jointly, or by a dependent child. One of the 100 Congress people invested in fossil fuel companies, or of the 100, 59 are Republicans, 41 are Democrats. It's a bipartisan effort. And all of the top 10 members with the most invested in the industry are Republicans. And guess where a lot of them are from?
Oil field areas.
That would be correct. Very, very good. So we start getting into, and they're all, of course, super wealthy. So Kelly Armstrong, who owns hundreds of oil and gas wells around the Dickinson, North Dakota, through a family business. Okay, so she had in her annual, or her husband, the second term Armstrong's oil and gas. Oh, Kelly Armstrong's a man. Sorry, apologize for misgendering Representative Armstrong. Between 3 million and 10.6 million, and collected income to up to 1.5 million from his oil and gas fields in 2020. So we've got a polluter directly in the House from North Dakota.
Yeah.
You've got Fred Upton of Michigan and his spouse. Okay, and they sold off some apparently, but it wasn't everything that they had because they didn't file divestiture paperwork, but they did actually file that they did make sales as well. But really, a couple of Democrats on the Energy Commerce Committee similarly hold on to fossil fuel industry. They do talk here also about the Texas Republicans that are tops on the list, guys that we've never heard of, like Van Taylor, who has between 3 and 12 million in stock just in ExxonMobil alone. I mean, look at these. They're worth millions. I mean, every single one of them gets here. That's how they get here. They're worth tens of millions of dollars, at least. Because that's the only people that can afford to take the time to invest the money to get to Congress without making all the concessions. And even though they get there, they still make concessions because that's their buddies. All right, pipeline stock pickups, and that's something else that happened. Mark Reed of Tennessee started with between 1.5 million and 3 million in fossil fuel companies. Here, let me drop this in the chat. See, I predicted correctly. Les Bones, there he is. Welcome. Virginia Fox owns shares between 500,000 and 1.5 million across 9 fossil fuel companies.
Just Indy, free market. They should be able to take part.
All right, these are some people that actually sold off some stock. This is a really good article. It's long, it's in depth, and it names names. It talks again about Ro Khanna, all right, who owned up to 7.5 million worth of fossil fuel company stock 2 years ago. Now, he says that they divested 98%. All right, but then they bought like 6 figures worth of stock, which was they claim was bought by a money manager, and that's being taken care of. I'm sure. 7.5 million.
That's when you have a person, when you can pay someone money to handle your money.
Man of the people. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. At least one investment of $15,000 in an electric utility. Okay, which we'll also review. Yeah. Also, ended in Carolyn Maloney announcing subpoenas of documents from oil executives, right, because of the House Oversight Committee.
Yeah.
All right. Previous analysis. I mean, Sludge is just outstanding. They Donnie, and David Moore do a fantastic job.
Can someone
Really
just
digging
clip
into
the
the money.
audio of Indy going Sludge is fantastic, just so I can put it over like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movies, you know?
Nice.
What else? There's other Sludge movies? Feels like it.
These are also interesting. These are people who are on committees that invest in specifically the companies that their committees are involved with legislating, like fuel cells. Okay, he's on some kind of
Chevron.
energy committee, right? And then bought into this. It's 15 grand, and for these guys, 15 grand's nothing. But still, it's just where they're putting their money. It's just really interesting.
How do you say that last name?
Swazi.
Okay. Yeah.
So Tom Swazi, right? He's leaving to run for governor, but he's got Devon Energy, right?
Yeah.
Maxine Waters owns $250,000 in Chesapeake, which is real nasty polluter, we know.
Yeah.
Again, this is outstanding work. Definitely subscribe if you can support these guys. I get their emails, and I follow them on Twitter. Give them a follow. So in a dovetail similar, which we already know about what our friend Nancy had to say about this, but
Nancy,
but also from Donald Shaw, leaning congressional stock trading ban bill has spouse loophole. So even if they get any kind of these bills through, we know already that they're going to be toothless. All right, now there actually is one bill according to this article. It's called the Trust Act, the Transparent Representation Upholding Service in Trust in Congress, which basically requires a blind trust, and it puts pretty specific things into place requiring blind trusts. And that's been signed off on by the good government groups. Except you get down to the bottom paragraph right away. Neither bill is likely to pass the House anytime soon. Nancy Pelosi, whose husband is a frequent trader of corporate stock and options, said recently she doesn't believe members of Congress or their spouses should be prohibited from trading stocks. So I did want to mention that there are some representatives like AOC and Rashida Tlaib, as well as Ayanna Pressley and Matt Gaetz, that co-sponsor this, putting their stuff into a blind trust.
Yeah, they will write sternly worded letters, I'm sure.
Well, I'd rather see them support it than not support it, but we know that as long as Nancy Pelosi is the speaker, to say you supported it means absolutely nothing.
Nothing.
And that's about as far as we'll go with that.
Yeah. And then the minute they get a nice choice stock, they're gonna bounce off this anyway.
So again, follow the money. Yep, agreed. And they're still gonna. And what are they gonna pay? A $200 fine for insider trading stuff. I mean, it's until they fix this, they're gonna keep doing it. And Paul Pelosi, I mean, I tweeted out. I saw something that he made all kinds of future bets and bought options for February 2023 on Roblox and Microsoft and several other companies that he's betting are going to go up. And now Nancy's saying that she may not leave even after they potentially might lose the House next year. Even as the minority leader, she'll still be involved. So she'll just keep reaping the, she'll keep squeezing this and milking this for as long as she can. Again, Donald Shaw, Sludge, excellent work. Thank you.
Well, you better get hip to indie left, indie left, indie left.news.